What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 20 of C4SVillains. I am your host JB and I am here as always with my co-host Legendy Vash, and we are here with two very special guests, my boys Abe and Steve from the Inside the Mind of a Blurred podcast. Abe, Steve, Vash, thank you guys so much for joining me on this episode.
Hey, you know what it is. It's glad to be here. You know, it's familiar out here. Shout out to you, JB. Shout out to you, Vash. I've been wanting to be on this episode for one of the longest times. As soon as Loki was announced, I hit you immediately like, JB, I need to be on that Villains episode for sure. So thank you for pulling through.
You already know,
bro.
If I'm
correct, Abe hit us up like a month or two almost. I think like 6 weeks before Loki was announced in June or anything. I'm like, and just so like, yo, we have Abe already for Loki. I'm like, oh shit, damn. He reserved that spot quick.
Hey, got to get on it because y'all a hot commodity, man.
I'm pretty kind words, bro.
Yeah, man. Thank y'all for having me too, man.
Yeah, man. It's great to have you back on the show.
Yeah, second time. I'm glad.
It's a pleasure to have you. And I can't wait to talk about Loki, the nice, mischievous god of mischief, and in the family of Asgard. So I can't wait to talk about that, his character, the lore, and the premiere of the Disney Plus show of the MCU. So you can't want to talk about it. Right, James?
Yeah, man. This is going to be a really, really cool episode. Like, I've been really, really excited for Loki. This was one of our most anticipated, like, Disney Plus series to come out this year. WandaVision was absolutely incredible. Smashed it out of the park. And, of course, Falcon and Winter Soldier absolutely smashed it out of the park. And it looks like Loki's going to do the exact same thing again.
Yeah.
I believe this has 6 episodes this season. It looks like the episodes are going to be around the 50-minute mark, and I've been hanging on every word of this first episode. I saw it 3 times today, trying to find all the Easter eggs, just paying attention to every single thing that I can. And again, man, I'm so glad that I have this panel to talk about Loki here on the podcast. So let's go ahead and break the ice a little bit and just talk about our history with Loki. Like, are you guys a fan of his character? Were you a fan from the comics? Did you become a fan from like one of the animated series? Or did Tom Hiddleston in the MCU make you a fan of the character? So Abe, I want to start with you, and I want to know your history with Loki.
Okay, so naturally, I'm a big fan of just mythology in general: Greek, Roman, Egyptian, African, Nordic. So I've always been aware of Loki, the character, and it always fit because the god of mischief. But I didn't truly fall in love until Tom Hiddleston. I saw how he played Loki, and I said, this is it. From the first time he stepped foot, I was like, this is my favorite character in MCU. My favorite character by far. And every time I think of Loki, I think of Tom. You know how certain actors, they just fit their role. Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark / Iron Man. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. Chris Evans is Captain America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tom Hiddleston is Loki. There is no one who could have done a better job. He fits everything about the god of mischief that you would like. You know, he has his sincere moments, but he's still super manipulative. You don't know where he stands, and even when he does acts of good, you're still like, Remember watching Endgame, even though he was dying, I was like, is he really dying though?
Sure, right? I thought the same thing. I was like, is Loki really dead this time?
Yeah, I'm like,
there's a kid.
Thanos really kill him, you know?
He said no resurrection this time.
Yeah, I love it. So of course when they announced the Loki limited series, I said this is going to be so much fun. They have so much that they can do with it, because I think, and we'll dive more into this later, this series is one of the foundational pieces for phase 4. Not in the sense of, we know all of these films and projects are foundational pieces, but as in like a keystone. This is very, very important because of what it will allow us to do. It will allow us to talk about both space and time. And that's very crucial to everything that is phase 4. So Tom Hiddleston, yo, thank you.
Yeah, man, beautifully said. Steve?
Well, first of all, he should have let me go first if he was going to do like that. Following Abe is hard as fuck. But no, like I pretty much jumped on the Loki bandwagon with Tom Hiddleston as well after the first Thor. And then even finding out that he was like trying to go out to be Thor, and then he ended up landing the role for Loki. I'm like, man,
yeah, crazy,
right?
I'm
like, I can't even see anything different. Like now, I'm like, I'm glad he didn't get Thor, because if he would have ended up being that, then what would happen with that and with Loki? So, but yeah, I really have been hyped about it ever since the introduction of him. Really, I'm not as in depth with comics. Like I do read comics, but I'm not as in depth as everyone else. So I didn't have very much knowledge about Loki. And then now I know about Loki more. And then we play God of War, and then you find out it's the son, spoiler alert, you know what I'm saying, is Loki and all this other stuff. So it's all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, man, he's everywhere. And I just didn't know. So I'm glad that I had this introduction to him, because it did open up my viewpoints of Loki and everything like that, my knowledge of him.
Yeah, definitely. Vash?
With me, with Loki as a character, it's a mixture of what Abe and Steve said about the Greek mythology, God of War. I've always loved Asgard, the Vikings, stuff like that. I've always had a big fan for this type of storytelling. But with Loki, the character, I've known him from the comics because I've read Thor comics, and Loki is always involved with Thor or the Avengers or Spider-Man in some shape or form in the cartoons as well. But Loki in the comics was like a one-dimension, at most two-dimension character, but never was fully layered until Tom Hiddleston gave him more of a layer character throughout the MCU. And people started to fall in love with him and everything. And Tom Hiddleston made me more of a fan of Loki. And I know in the recent years, they have incorporated that character of Loki from the MCU into the comics and has improved that character. So I'm very happy with that intake. Can't wait to see what else they make more of Loki in the comics.
Yeah, definitely. I wasn't a big fan of Loki until we got to the MCU. In the comics, in the animated series, I always saw Loki as just the annoying god of mischief. He was just Thor's really annoying brother, right? And of course, in the comics, the father of Hela, right? So that was just who he is for me. I knew he was a character that had amazing magical abilities and all of this different stuff. So it's like I was never really super interested in Loki the character until the MCU, until Tom Hiddleston's performance, and he absolutely smashes it out of the park, starting from the first Thor movie. I think he's the best part of that entire movie. He's the best part he's the best part of Thor the Dark World. Like, that movie, the one good thing about that movie is the deeper exploration of this brotherhood between Thor and Loki, and the exploration of why Loki does the things that he does, because, like, he just feels like he's not actually Odin's son, and he's trying to do absolutely everything to gain his father's approval, and everything he does is literally the worst thing that he can possibly do. But Tom Hiddleston makes me empathize with this character. Every time he does something terrible, it's like, well, you know what, like, Loki's not so bad. Even he does terrible things, but he's not a terrible guy. And if an actor can give me that kind of duality in a character, if the writing can give me that kind of duality, that's the kind of shit that I like to see. That's the kind of stuff that I like to read. So I absolutely love what they've done with Tom Hiddleston and with Loki in the MCU, especially now that we have this Loki series and everything that just in this first episode has done. So Abe, I kind of want to start with you yet again, and I want to know like your general thoughts on Loki episode 1. Like, did it meet your expectations? Like, did it blow your socks off? Like, what were your general thoughts?
Okay, so on my first watch, first of all, I watched it like at 1 a.m. today. I was just like, let me just throw it in there. I'll watch it again later today when I take notes, but I want to get a raw, end of the day, end of my day, thoughts on it. So I press play and I'm watching. I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, I see what's going on. All right, it's a lot of foundational pieces being said, nothing crazy. The pointing to the stained glass window got me hyped for sure. And then the very end, but everything in between the comedy, I cringed a little bit at some of the comedic moments. But you guys, if you know me, comedy in the MCU, I'm not the biggest fan of, unless it's Guardians of the Galaxy because they made it work,
Except Volume 2.
Volume 2 forced it. Absolutely, Volume 2 forced it.
100%.
But Volume 1 did a great job of being comedic. Now, while there was some cringy moments in Loki, nothing too crazy. Overall, I was satisfied. Overall, it got me hopeful for what the future brings, especially for all the theories that started formulating in my head. Like immediately just off of several things I heard, I was thinking about Secret Wars. I was thinking about Battle World. I was thinking about God Emperor Doom. I was thinking about War of the Realms on my mind. So I just got so excited by the end of it. So I'm pleased. I'm satisfied. With episode 1. And I'm really looking forward to what we got moving forward.
Okay. Steve?
Some of my first reactions initially to it was I immediately started thinking about what I heard on one of the pods where you was like, if MCU doesn't fix this timeline shit, because you were talking about how the timeline thing and how Steve Rogers shouldn't have met and I was thinking I was all like, all right, so maybe they're going to go deep into this and they're going to explain things, and that way it'll make more sense later on. So that was some of my thought processes because of, what I'm saying, I always listen to everybody, and I'm like, okay, these guys got some good points. So now I'm trying to see it unfold within the story. So initially that was dope. And then what's her name? I can't pronounce her name, but I know it's Wunmi from Lovecraft Country. The second that I seen her on the screen, I was like, "Oh, okay." I was all like, "She's been."
Hey, I know this is an anime or manga related, but that's Bae. That's wifey. I call dibs.
Fair enough.
I love her.
Man, and so as soon as she stepped on screen, I was like, okay. And then we get Owen Wilson, and I love Owen Wilson. So I was all like, I'm really liking the cast already, just off of when the 3 people that the main character with Loki, Wunmi, and then Owen Wilson. So I was like, all right, I'm already loving the cast. And then I like time travel stuff. Like some of my favorite anime is Steins Gate. One of my favorite games is I just forgot it, but it's in the same series with Control and the other two, Quantum Break. So that's one of my favorite games. So I love time travel type stuff or whatever. So I was like, as soon as they got to it, I was like, all right, start giving the timekeepers, and it started making me think about the time police from Rick and Morty on that one time police episode. And I was like, all right, this is really gonna be good. So I was ready to see it all unfold. I definitely was enjoying it on those little pieces and things like that.
Yeah, I love the time travel aspects of the show. And just real quick before I toss it to Vash, so that thing with Captain America, after that show I thought about it, he was still wearing the wrist gauntlet when he went back in time. He just used that to get back to the main timeline. I thought about it right after the show. I was like, he was supposed to come back anyway. So since he didn't come back, he used the wrist gauntlet to just bring himself back to the main timeline, give Falcon the shield, and then he either went back or stayed, because I mean at that point Peggy was already dead. So yeah, I thought about it instantly. I was like, fuck, that was not correct at all. He just used the wrist gauntlet. But Vash, I'll toss it to you. What are your general thoughts?
Honestly, for those that have not seen the show of Legends of Tomorrow, so the way I saw the show happening, it was like Legends, the type of mischievous people, the ragtag team kind of fuck up, but work with the time people because they're so bad, but they're gonna bring good. So I'm like, all right, cool. How are they gonna do a Loki? So not that I had low expectations, but like Disney put so many freaking trailers out that I just got tired of seeing trailers. I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, they already show almost the whole first episode in almost every trailer. Because when I saw the episode, I'm like, most of this was in the trailer. The fuck? So like, not that I was mad about it, but I was more like, all right, I'm still entertained. But like, I wish some of these little small type of snippets I could have just seen without the trailers. But entertained, happy. What A brought up, hearing the little small monologues and small lines of, we have a bunch of Infinity Stones, but we use them as paperweights. I'm like, the fuck? Yeah, I got a bunch of Infinity Stones, like in a drawer, like it's nothing. Loki was hella mad, like, yo, I could literally build my own gauntlet right here. I'm like, yeah. So that was funny. Like those little small jokes, did land for me. Some didn't, but still had a great time. Owen Wilson, freaking amazing. Cannot wait to see the chemistry between him and Loki throughout the next 5 episodes. I hope it stays 50 minutes, even though it's going to probably be 42 to 45 minutes. And then the rest was 5 minutes of credits, which, you got to respect for the people that work there. But I had a great time. Can't wait to see the rest of episode 2 and so on, and what the story brings versus Loki. Cannot wait to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like,
Yo.
Go ahead.
the Infinity Stones part was hilarious.
Yeah.
So I rewatched it like 3 times. Every time I kept laughing, and when old boy was like, "What is this? A Tesseract?" That sounds like a dumb name. I was like, "Yo."
Yeah. Well,
not these people disrespecting what everybody died and sacrificed their life for.
Right?
And then I'm like, "What's a fish?" I'm like,
yeah. When he said,
"What's a fish?" And then he said, "I've lived by this desk all my life." I'm like, damn, yes. Yeah, I got no life here. Shit, damn. No fish, no chicken. Like, the hell? Like, what do y'all eat?
Yeah,
but
right?
I did think that that's going to have like some meaning later on, some meaning of significance later on how big and important those Infinity Stones were and how small they are in the grand scheme of everything. I think that's going to play a part later on in the series, honestly and truthfully.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, the Infinity Stones to each universe within the multiverse, it's the cornerstone of how the flow of time works. So removing one of those stones, like we learned about in the episode, creates a nexus point that could potentially create a bunch of other different like alternate timelines that can go absolutely fucking crazy, right? So I can't wait to get more into that stuff, get into more of the variants, get into more of why once an Infinity Stone is removed and it gets into the custody of the TVA, they pretty much have no more value anymore. They're not useful anymore. That's why people use them as paperweights, because they reset the timeline and then the stone that was removed is no longer needed anymore. It's like, why is that? So I have a few questions when it comes to that. But my general thoughts on the show, I thought it was great. I thought they did a really good job of further explaining how the time travel works within the MCU. Tom Hiddleston did an incredible job. Owen Wilson did a really good job. I thought there were some really cool Easter eggs. Like Abe already alluded to, there was a Secret Wars Easter egg, because we know the TVA and their base, they're located pretty much at the end of time. So they've already seen the Secret Wars, right? The event that almost ended everything. So I thought that was a really, really cool Easter egg to kind of throw out there. And we'll get into more of this later on when we're talking about the review. But Tom Hiddleston, man, like every single scene that he's in, every facial expression, every piece of dialogue, it's just masterful by this actor, man. Like, because everything he says means something, but at the same time, internally, he's so depressed. And you can see that, you know what I mean? So these are all things that I really, really loved. So let's dive straight into the episode. The episode begins, and we start off 2012. We start off when the Avengers went back in time to 2012, and they capture Loki. He takes the Tesseract and ends up in the desert, right? I had no idea where he would end up once he took the Tesseract. Did you guys have any theories or any ideas after Endgame of where he might have gone to?
Boy, look, I'll tell you this. I thought we were about to get Cosmic Loki. So I expected to be out in space, found himself a ship and was gonna start cruising through space and time. That's what I thought. So for him to end up in the Gobi Desert and get ran up on by the TVA like that, I was like, all right, this makes sense. I didn't expect it.
Man, if he became Cosmic Loki, that would have been some wild shit. I'm like, we get a Cosmic Loki? First episode? Shit. Ah! I'm like,
MCU is not ready for Cosmic Loki, yo. They're not ready,
not just yet.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Like, if we get him later on, I'm like, oh shit. When I read that shit in the comics years ago, I'm like, wow. All right, Loki. There's some dope side of you I did not know of. So if we get that shit, I'm like, yo, I fuck with this.
Yeah, Steve, did you have any ideas of where Loki might have went?
Well, as soon as but not at the end of the movie. I had no ideas of where he went. I just was like, oh, he disappeared through the timeline or whatever. I had no idea. But as soon as he grabbed the Tesseract, and I was having this anticipation that he was going straight back to Asgard to be like, hey, to Thor. Like I thought he was just gonna be, hey, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? And Thor would be like, what the, you know what I'm saying? One of those crazy moments. But then I had to think about it also, and I'm like, well, because we already saw Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, and Chris Hemsworth. So I'm thinking, oh, they're going to be a part of this series for like an episode, like for a full episode. So I was thinking like, oh, he's going to Asgard and he's going to meet Thor there, and they're going to have like a quick little talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I thought was going on right there. But I wasn't surprised. I was not expecting him to be in the desert though, at all.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where he was going to end up. I knew that once he traveled with the Infinity Stone that it would have created an alternate timeline, but I didn't know how they were going to start it off. And I thought they did a great job. He doesn't spend much time in the desert, and instantly the TVA shows up to try to clean up everything. So we see these reset charges that once they remove Loki, they pretty much erase the memories of everyone that's there and resets the timeline because Loki isn't supposed to be there. So I thought that was really, really cool. We immediately get to the TVA headquarters, and I love that it's like a Universal ride where you're going through the line and then there's always the screens giving you the information about everything. Like, what did you guys think about that scene?
I thought that was real fun, and I really enjoyed the whole thing. Is this everything that you've ever said in your life? And he puts the stack of papers there.
Yo, so
that was hilarious, bro. Can you verify that this is everything you've ever said in your entire life? I'm like, what?
And as soon as he says what, another piece of paper is prints.
So I was a bit underwhelmed for that because but this is from year 2020 or year 2019. I was not there, so I would like to have seen that reaction, and then that would have come back when he saw his death later on in the episode. So that's what I would have liked, take a step further in the foreshadowedness of storytelling. But overall, the scene was great. I love the comedy. It was funny.
That was my first cringe moment. I'm not gonna lie. I was being impatient at this point. I was like, okay, we're not about to run through this trope. He better not go through several. And so I was mad happy when he just signed one, and that was it. I was like, all right, cool, we can move on.
Ah, damn it,
because I was like, nah, because this could drag. This
I was laughing. I like the 2 words, and it was 2 printed papers, and
I was like, that's why I was like, please, let's not keep going. Just sign that thing and move on to the next scene. But I thought it was cool. It showed the seriousness of the TVA. Like, these guys
don't play.
There's going to be something I say later that might be on the contrary. These guys are who they say they are in terms of like, yo, we are watchers of time. You feel me? We know everything. We've seen everything. I thought that was pretty dope for them to show that scene. Just like that funny moment, but it still had impact.
What I was going to ask, did you guys like the comedy bit with the ticket? Because when I said the ticket, that reminded me every time when I went to BJ's or Costco to try to order something like, hey, can I have some ham, some cheese or turkey? Like, that ticket shit always made me laugh. I've seen that scene just twice because that scene made me laugh. How did y'all feel about that?
I thought that was
I thought that was
hilarious,
funny.
bro.
Yeah, he's all like, I asked for my ticket, Buckethead. He said, what are you gonna do? He thought it was a game. He was like, I asked for it, Buckethead.
He like, oh fuck, my ticket. I
Oh
got
yeah,
it.
Loki started looking around.
I was like, Loki, I know you would start going back and forth, but you saw that man just get erased, right? Like, boy, you better pull that out with the quickness. You better. I was like, he better not have lost that.
Like, I got it.
Like, there's a hole in his pants and it fell out. Like, no, don't do it to my man. It was a good scene. It was.
Honestly, in that scene when you only see that character from behind at first, and he's got the long hair, and I was like, is that supposed to be? I thought it was going to be two Lokis right then and there, because I never saw, like, I watched the scene over and over now. So at first I was like, oh, dude, I thought that was another Loki, and he was just going to get vaporized, and then he was going to be the real Loki and stuff, and he sees what happens to him if he don't.
Did you guys notice the Skrull variant?
Yeah, I did.
Oh no, I didn't. Well, y'all saw it because I surely didn't, and I watched.
Oh, you didn't?
I watched the episode a few times. I wasn't paying attention.
But they said it. How did you miss that, Steve? They said it too.
So when I watch TV now, even if it's American shows, I always have subtitles on because I know sometimes I miss stuff audioly, so at least I see it visually. So when we're watching and it says Skrull variants, I was like, immediately put that in my notes. I was like, further pointing at Secret Invasion. I was like, yes, love it.
They're leading up to the Secret Invasion. Hell yeah.
Yeah, man, like that is going to be like one of the next like biggest moments in the MCU. Like Secret Wars, gets really, really crazy, man. Like with all of the different versions, like there was a council of like different Reed Richards. Like there's so much crazy shit that happens in Secret Wars, and I can't wait to see the MCU version of that. I want to talk about real quick when Loki is being sentenced. The character is Ravonna Renslayer, which is a Kang the Conqueror love interest. I thought that was sick. So that was like the first like Kang the Conqueror Easter egg in my opinion. And then right behind her, I could be reading into this, but the face right in the middle looks like someone from Kang's race. So I was looking at that, I was like, that kind of looked like someone from Kang's race as well. So, man, there's so many Easter eggs for Kang the Conqueror in this episode, bro. It's crazy.
Because the beautiful thing is, we know that Ant-Man 3, the rumor is that Kang is going to be the villain, the antagonist of the
That's
movie.
Confirmed, bro.
Yeah,
I don't think it's rumor. It's confirmed.
So,
that's confirmed.
So for us, it's like Kang is the type of character you can't just drop him and be like, here he is. You got to kind of build up to him.
Mm-hmm.
What better way to build up to Kang the Conqueror than with the Loki show and the TVA?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they said, and this is why later I said that, the TVA is capping too, because while they are powerful and they know so much, they can't police everything. Because if they could, Kang the Conqueror wouldn't be who he is today. Kang has been running throughout time for centuries. He's in every major event of history. He's always plotting. He's always up there front and center somehow, some way. TVA can't stop him. So, hey, Loki, they bluffing, but, you know, you don't realize just how much bigger there is outside of Earth and your realm. So I was mad happy. Like, I can't wait to get Kang. And I love it, too, because it's Jonathan Majors from Lovecraft Country. Yeah. We saw Ruby from Lovecraft Country. She's in this show. I was just like, I love how they're all getting their shine nowadays and getting that MCU money. Oh, they're going to be good. They're going to be good.
Well, she partnered with Disney, boy. You set.
Oh, yeah. So I want to get into the interview / interrogation between Mobius and Loki. Again, okay. Owen Wilson does such an incredible job throughout this entire first episode. Like, he's so like lighthearted, where you can tell that he's a guy that's all about his business. And there's so many Easter eggs in terms of like, why does he want Loki's help? Why is he so interested in figuring out like how Loki thinks? And then we find out by the end of the episode, he's curious because the variant he's trying to capture is also Loki. So if he can understand how Loki thinks, it'll be easier for him to track him down. So let's talk about that interrogation where Loki is literally looking at the events of his life, and he's being faced with like looking and being accountable for his actions. All of these people that have ended up dead simply because of his poor decision. So Steve, I want to start with you, and I want to know some of your favorite moments and like what did you think about that interrogation scene between Mobius and Loki?
Well, I like the fact that we usually see Loki's kind of mischievous and not, nonchalant, not caring, but then we get to see that deepness, that caring part when he sees that he's like, when you told them to go upstairs and make a left, you basically are the cause of your mother's death. And the seriousness, that how hard he took it, and it was like, dang man, I love Tom Hiddleston, how he can go from up and down so quickly. You know what I'm saying? And his range is just really dope. And I love that scene. And I love the fact that like when Owen Wilson, he keeps trying to attack Owen Wilson snaps him back, kind of like, he's all like, look, man, we can do this all day. And it's like Owen Wilson never really panics when Loki gets up to do it. It's more so like a calm, like snapping him back. And I just love that whole little scene and that whole like everything about that little monologue with them going back and forth. And like I said, that scene with the mom was just so touching because it was just like he literally basically caused his mother's death. And now he's finally facing it. And it's like, and then later on he goes back and he watches the scene again. And it's just like, it's really hitting him. So like, I really like that. I really thought that was a deep, deep scene.
Yeah, man, that broke me. I always thought that was a missed opportunity in Thor the Dark World to give Loki some accountability. It's like, dude, because of the directions that you gave that dark elf, caused your mother's death. And it was something that they never really brought up. But that's what I love about all of these series. Like Kevin Feige and all of the other producers, they're looking at the MCU. Where have we dropped the ball? Where can we improve? And they're using these series to fill in those gaps. I had so many issues with like Wanda, because Wanda is such a great character. Black Widow, such a great character. Vision, all of these amazing characters that just seemed like had rushed character developments, and now we're getting so much into like their deeper lives and like their mindset, how they think. So Abe, what did you think about this sequence, and what were some of your favorite moments?
Yeah, so for me, again, people who know me I love that mental anguish. The moments where the character kind of feels distress, sadness, pain for mostly because of their own actions and how they didn't really think it through. And as you mentioned earlier in this episode, JB, one of the things you loved about Loki and the MCU was that they gave the character death. And you mentioned this too, Vash. They gave the character death. And this Frigga moment was that death, And we clearly saw how much Loki was in distress. And when asked, like, oh, why do you hurt people? Is it fun? Like, yes, of course, it's what I do. And it's like, oh, did you enjoy hurting your mom? And it's like, no, I wasn't responsible for that. Looks like you were. It's like, no, like, and even when he escaped later and then comes back and then rewatches it, it hits harder because you're just like, man. So I love that moment of giving Loki that sense of like, hey, this is not just some character that just does what they do for no reason. There's consequences and action. They are still relatively human, right? I enjoyed also the mention of the Dark Elves again, because War of the Realms has been one of my favorite recent Marvel comic storyline. And that involves I believe Malik, the Dark Elf. And I was just like, hey, because like you mentioned, JB, what they're doing over at Marvel right now is that they're looking at what they dropped the ball on and they're fixing it. I believe they dropped the ball with Thor 2 and with the Dark Elves, and it's like, well, now with the TVA, we could probably get a timeline where they still active, and then later phase 8, phase 9, phase 10, if you want to bring War of the Realms out to the forefront, baby, we got it already set up in phase 4. You feel me?
Bro said phase 8, phase 9,
hey,
which is that
I'm with it for the long haul. The MCU is going to last until the universe ends. I'm convinced.
Imagine phase 23.
Oh my God. I may not be alive for that, but I'll be reincarnated for that, John, and I'm going to be in the MCU. You feel me? So that was a good point. And then just replaying later replaying the end of Infinity War and what happens to Loki. This was like, yo, Loki, because remember he came in like, yeah, I'm a god. Oh, you guys had to arrest me because the Avengers came back in time because they tried to stop me from ascending my throne and whatnot. It's like, Loki, I love you. But it went far left than that. And so for him seeing his own end and how the tape just, it didn't just stop. The reel just finished. I was like, hey, your own, being faced with your own mortality when you think you're immortal, that you can't be stopped anything. You saw that Thanos ended you. And how
in a snap.
You kind of, not that he begged for his life, but to see yourself basically at the whim of another being who you didn't think was powerful than you. Oh, that's humbling. That's humbling. This moment right here humbled the hell out of Loki, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, man. I love absolutely everything that you said. Vash, what do you got?
So to follow up what Ace said, I'm gonna continue cooking that. So we didn't speak on when Loki was getting arrested and talking to the judge. And he told her like, you're arresting the wrong person. I did not do anything for the timeline. He said you should be arresting the Avengers. They're the ones that did the timeline and traveled through the time. I love how he didn't really say anything, but he noticed the small little things that he said, oh, I smell 220 Starks about the perfume, cologne, and everything like that. So that's pretty dope. There's comedy about Tony Stark and his cologne because that has been a comedy since Iron Man 1 and 2. So I love that continues to be a jab to his character. But also about that scene, and the reason I'm bringing back about the Avengers is that he sees his future, Loki as a character, that he gets a better relationship with his brother. He sees the relationship with Thor Ragnarok and with Avengers Infinity War, and he gets more emotional saying like, fuck, I got a better relationship with Thor throughout these years, and I didn't experience that, but he experienced that like he was watching like a 4D reel and seeing that like Tom Hiddleston knock out the park of body language, emotional acting, expressing it through a screen of him watching himself act, and I loved it because it felt so surreal of a character seeing that, and then seeing him die, but seeing himself die, protecting his brother Thor, just to trying to save him and do the best he can. Like, yeah, he saw himself that who thought what Abe said, immortal, that he was good, and got killed by another person that saw himself as a god, as Thanos. Like, that was beautiful. But what got me the most is that seeing the real of his fault, his mother's death, 2 to 3 times, and him reading like, fuck, I am the one responsible. And then talking to Mobius, telling him like, having like a whole therapy session of breaking it down of why he does these things, and then him telling him right after he saw the reels and everything, like, yo, I don't really choose to do this. It's just like a whole deeper level. I love the psychological conversation with himself, trying to understand this, and then for him trying to understand it and tell somebody else. Because that's hard for you to understand what's going through your mind and why you do stuff, but also to express it to somebody else of why they're asking you why you do that. That's some strong will. And I love how it went out on script and on the scene. It went very well and very good execution.
Yeah.
Yo, real talk. People know me. I've been saying this a lot. Basically, you're going to learn a lot about me, right? The Thor series in the MCU is my least favorite series. I am not a fan of the series as a whole. I think that it was weak. People love Thor Ragnarok. I didn't because of the comedic aspect, but it made sense. The rumors about Chris Hemsworth feeling tired of the serious role and wanting something more chill and whatnot.
Yeah, of course.
Whatever. But my favorite thing about the Thor series is the way they develop Loki and Thor's relationship. by far.
Agreed.
That's what allowed me to rewatch the Thor films, is seeing their dynamic, because in each film you see that growth, and then of course you see Loki do something that's like, dang, oh wow, he really does care about his brother, and then it's like, no, hold on, let me fix that. Y'all must
Let me
who I
backstab
was.
you real quick.
Hold on, and then I'm invested. I'm like, damn, Loki, Loki, I thought you was, you know what? I shouldn't have been surprised. Okay.
But it's fitting though of the way that
absolutely
Loki is, because of, you got that sibling. I don't know if you guys got siblings, but they're playing the game. They're not doing anything. They're not bothering anybody. You walk up to them, you slap them just to do it. And I just feel like that's the relationship that Loki and Thor have.
And you love it. You love it. Especially, I'm the oldest of four. Like that, their dynamic, of course, theirs is to an extreme because people's lives are in the balance, right? But you know, I randomly mess with my siblings too. We don't backstab each other, but you know, you have those moments where you just like, really, that's how you go do me like this? Like, I was hoping you have my back, stuff like that. So I loved it. That is definitely my favorite thing about the series. And so when Loki died, and even though I was like, I'm not sure Loki's dead, I was like, damn, that's gonna be gone. And then of course we saw that they went back in time and then Loki disappeared. I was like, yes, Loki's still alive. There we go. There we go.
Quick side thing. I was watching Avengers Infinity War because I was getting ready for the work that we're gonna do for Friday, because we're reviewing part 3, phase 3, part 2. And then when Thanos said no resurrection, I'm like, that don't really hold much weight no more, because what happens next movie, and then this whole Loki series, like, at first when the movie came out in 2018, oh, dope as hell. But then afterwards, like, nah, it doesn't hold up as much. Like, still a good line without context, but then with the grander scale of the MCU, is like, yeah, I guess, you know,
technically he wasn't resurrected.
No, he wasn't. Technically, he was just rebirth in a different timeline.
Yeah. That, I don't know. It's crazy to even think about, and it's just like it gives that what's his name, Zoom feeling, where Eobard Thawne, how he like can be like, no matter what, he can't die. He's on so many different timelines, and it's starting to feel that way with Loki, because it's like when Loki died, like how Abe said, you never thought Loki, like, it hit in the movie theater, but it was still like, nah. It was like he's not dead. And then as soon as he does, it's like it feels like he can never die. He's just always going to be somewhere in the timeline. And I love that.
Yeah, man, you guys said so many amazing things about this scene, and this scene was one of the most impactful of the whole episode. And I'll just echo some of the things you guys already said, but Loki seeing Frigga's death, and like just Tom Hiddleston's acting, like just like he was completely broken after seeing that. Not only that, he sees Odin's death, right?
Oh yeah,
he sees that immediately after, but immediately after that, he sees that him and his brother were fighting side by side. He hears Thor say the words, Loki, I thought that we would fight side by side forever. And then it cuts to a scene of them fighting on the Rainbow Bridge together. And then he smiles, and he's so happy, like you alluded to, Vash, that he's just so happy that he actually got to a point where he was close with his brother. And then the emotional shift when he sees his death by the hand of Thanos, right? And then that happens, and then the reel ends. And if you slow it down, if you pause it good enough, you'll see that the reel ends and it says Loki Timeline 616, which, if you guys know, 616 is the prime Earth timeline of all of our Marvel characters. So I thought that was a really, really dope fucking Easter egg. Right? It's going to get absolutely crazy. Another thing that I liked about that line is Loki projecting his own internal like struggles onto the TVA and onto Mobius. He talks about choice leading to shame, uncertainty, regret, the weak trying to inspire fear into others, a desperate play for control. And this is all things that Loki has done. All of the bad things that he has done in his life are all desperate plays for control in his own destiny. You know what I mean? Like him trying to force his way into becoming king is him trying to shape his own destiny. And I love that he had to come to terms with all of this stuff. Go ahead, Vash.
So, great transition for this, Jen, because you wrote something about destiny. So, how do we all feel about the three gods that predetermine and choose was people's destiny? Because even the judge said that the Avengers were supposed to come back in time and to change the future and everything. How do we all feel about that? Because each of us feel differently about our own destiny. We choose our own path and everything. So, how did you feel about this in the show of Loki?
Real quick. So, I don't like this because the TVA has effectively removed our choice. Like, we no longer have free will because the TVA decides what our fate is. So I'm hoping that they brought that up because they plan to make that an arc of either the end of this series or possibly a sequel series or later on in the movies. But I need to see some type of repercussions of the TVA effectively playing God and determining what our paths are. So I'll toss it to Steve. Like, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I was definitely interested in the fact that they were like, oh yeah, the Avengers, they didn't break any rules, even though they went through time. That's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So technically they broke some rules, but it's like they just like, oh, we'll let that slide. But
it's because they're supposed to do it.
Yeah, because they're supposed to do it. But then Loki does it, and then not even 3 seconds later, he's in the desert getting slow-mo hit. You know,
when the Avengers did it,
nice.
It wasn't a big deal. But Loki removing an Infinity Stone, that creates a nexus.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
So the Avengers didn't go back and take a. I thought they were going back to get the stone. Didn't they?
So they did, but the important thing that they did was putting the stones back. If they didn't put the stones back, that would have wrecked time and it would have created a bunch of nexus points, creating a bunch of different offshoot timelines. Like with Cap going back in time, that's technically like an alternate reality. It's not something that actively affects the natural flow of time. So that's why the TVA didn't bug Cap, and also why they didn't bug the Avengers of going back in time. One, because it was supposed to happen, and two, they put the Infinity Stones back exactly where they were supposed to be in the timeline, so there was no repercussions for that.
So what, even though this is a reach, and I know it's a reach, but it was my first watch, and it was like the biggest reach, but I was like, all right, what if, because they kept talking about catching a variant and they were hinting at something, but they didn't necessarily hint at Loki unless you caught it, because I didn't catch it. But immediately I was thinking, because I was still stuck on this whole, what JB was saying, how Cap shouldn't have been able to do that without being on a different timeline and all this other stuff. So I'm putting all these different pieces in my head. It was such a big reach, but I was thinking the variant that they were trying to catch was like some evil Captain America. And I was like, that would be crazy. But you know what I'm saying? Obviously, that's not what happened.
I would love that, though.
That would be amazing.
That's what I was thinking, and I was like, "Yo,
there
this
could be some
crazy.
Fun storylines. We could probably get it to Hydra Cap that way, low key.
I was just going to bring up Hydra Cap.
That would be sick, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, they're trying to catch."
I ain't mad at that reach at all. Like that would have been so dope. But one thing for sure, and one of the things that I love the most about that, JB, you had mentioned it, was the fact that when I was watching this scene, this particular moment, I said, "Look, dog. The different avenues you're gonna get, and first of all, with the TVA, they're setting it up for me personally to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be Team Kang all the way, baby. Everybody that opposes TVA, I'm with y'all because they acting like gods right now, and when people start to act like they too much in control, I want to see it all fall. So I'm like, Kang, where you at, baby? Because the TVA needs to learn some lessons right now. They think that they got it like that, and I'm gonna need you to remind them. Because while yes, they were right in saying that the Avengers, they did not mess up, I was just like, y'all capping with saying that y'all really just let things fly. Like when Mobius acted surprised, aka Owen Wilson, was surprised that Loki was DB Cooper, which I thought was funny as hell.
So let's talk about that. Like, once you're done, Abe, let's talk about that once you're done.
I was like, yo, that's crazy. Okay. But like, let's be real. Y'all really let him be DB Cooper? Where DB Cooper, y'all were just like, okay, cool. Like, nah. Y'all cap it. Y'all let certain things slide because y'all know that y'all don't got the juice like that. But y'all trying to bluff on my man Loki. Okay. Yeah, they're gonna be around back. Yeah, they're gonna be around back. I got you. I see you around back.
I do want to add my quick thoughts about Destiny and how about how this whole TVA tries to take people their freedom, and I agree with what James said, that this will be an arc for Loki to change the TVA, and I feel like Owen Wilson character will be in charge of that and see a new light, because Loki, when he saw the outer side of the building, seeing those type of sculptures, those type of flying cars and everything, he was surprised, but also more intrigued of how that this is a predetermined destiny, and he was not really happy about that, because he said that I choose my destiny, and I feel like that would be a main arc of this show, and I can't wait for that, because that's a big thing for characters like gods, like Loki and Kang himself, that they cannot choose their destiny; they make their own destiny. So I can't wait to see that further in this show, if it goes, or maybe what James said, it could go for such of a sequel, aka season 2, or who else, or who knows what else they bring during the show.
Yeah, so let's talk about that DB Cooper situation. I thought that was absolutely nuts. I didn't know much about DB Cooper, if I'm being honest. Like, Bryce had to like DM me like some information on him. I didn't know much about the case at all. I had no idea that this guy literally hijacked a plane with a supposed bomb, jumped out of the plane with a parachute, and has never been found ever. I thought that was absolutely dope. And then to put that into the MCU, it's like, yeah, he was never found because he's Loki, the god of mischief, and he went back to fucking Asgard. I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
That Loki, was amazing.
Loki even tells the waitress the exact same words that DB Cooper says to the flight attendant, I mean, in real life. I thought that was hilarious. What were you saying, Abe?
Oh, I was just like, he's like, I lost a bet with Thor. I'm like, not y'all. keeping my Thor was immature back before the MCU film.
Yes.
I'm like, yo, he said Thor and Heimdall. And Heimdall, I hope y'all ready. It's like Heimdall was in on the jokes too.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like,
Stoic Heimdall, who's always like, I gotta do things by the book. Nah, you was in on the shenanigans as well. We see you, Idris. Okay. Oh, it's hilarious. Like, there was just so, and the crazy thing is, we're not even really halfway through the episode review right now. Like, we still have, but there was just so much already and so much good material. It has me so excited, because when they say 6 episodes, you're like, 6 is kind of short. It's kind of short. But Falcon Winter Soldier did it well. And I have all faith that Loki's gonna do a great job of it too. I can't even wait for episode 2. Can we just get to episode 2 already? Like,
I'm saying,
can that drop? Who got the illegal? I mean, who got the thing? Who got the thing? Let me know.
I was gonna ask you guys a question. How do we all feel about the time travel editing, visual effects? It's like with the morphing, it's like, bringing back Loki here. Like, how do we all feel about the type of, on screen and everything?
I actually really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the fact that like the DB Cooper scene too, with the like he's got a haircut, he's all clean cut and stuff like that. And then we jump back into the other scene, he's long haired, and I just really love the makeup effects on that, the visual effects like that. I feel like they're doing a great job of that. I enjoyed the fact that it was in the 60s too, so you got that 60s style where the stewardess is like kind of like more so in that kind of old school vibe feel and everything like that. And even I think they had a scene with Mobius was like further back in time too as well, right? When he talks to the French kid, right? So that's supposed to be earlier on. I can't remember.
1542, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 1858. No, that's at the very end.
Yeah. So
the one in the church with the kid was 15 something, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was 1542. I believe so.
Something
Maybe
like
got the
that.
number a couple of years off, but around there.
I'm really enjoying the fact that they're like even though they're still in their regular suits and things like that, the people around them, the environment around them is still like up to date with those time periods and those timelines. And I'm really loving that. I think Disney's doing a great job, or Marvel is doing a great job of doing that, like the whole scenery and everything like that. I'm loving that for real.
Yeah,
It's
man.
just those little bitty attentions to detail that will change, make or break the scene, make or break the show. Because I mean, Wonder Woman 1984, which
But I do want to add, I love seeing Loki flirting as well with a flight attendant. Like that's a different side we don't see from Loki, and the way he just winks at her, like, "Hey," it's a little wink there. Like one more time. Like that was a little nice side of Loki to see him flirt because we don't really see that character. That's that's at a charisma of his, and which I love.
And to Abe's point, when he said that, like, Thor, he's like, you guys pretty much, I lost a bet to you guys. And he had to do that. And it's just more so of that sibling thing that I was talking about. Like, they keep diving into that and keep playing off of that sibling thing and this playful banter and stuff like that. And I'm really enjoying that too. That it's just that little small little piece that's just giving you that warm feeling, that wholesome feeling that these dudes were just like, they were really siblings and they were enjoying their time together, even though they're playing pranks on each other and stuff. They're still enjoying their time together. So that's why seeing that scene and then thinking about the scene where he's like, me and Thor fought together side by side and how happy it was. It plays such a bigger part to it because you're seeing all these other things and these other aspects where they're really enjoying their time together.
Yeah. We were just talking about so I just looked it up. So they were in France in 1549. So how did you guys feel? How did you guys feel about the kid saying, because Mobius asked the kid, who did this? And the kid turns to this picture of the devil. So I'm not thinking it's like a literal like devil-like character, but what I'm thinking is Loki, his helmet has horns on it. So to a kid, that's what they're thinking. So I'm going to push it a little bit further. Do you think that this is just like a straight up another variant of Loki, or do you think this is Lady Loki?
Ooh.
Well, I do know we have Lady Loki in the series. If we have her as the main antagonist, I will have no problem. If she is the main antagonist, I hope she survives throughout the whole season and we, most likely defeat her at the end. But I would like that to be the case. Hopefully, it's not like a one-off each episode type of Loki, like, Lady Loki here, and then a different Loki next episode. Hopefully, we have some type of overarching story for this character. But I like what you brought up about the horns of the devil, because that's pretty interesting. I didn't really put the two and two together until the end. And then when I saw the episode the second time is when I pictured like, oh, that's what the kid meant. The horns, the devil, and everything. So it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it's like on top of that, like, what is this Loki's motivation for tricking TVA agents into going into different points in time only to kill them? It's like, cause to me, it's pretty obvious that the TVA, to some degree, are the bad guys to some degree, right? And this Loki is fighting back against these guys. So it's my whole thing is I want to find out this Loki's specific motivations, and I've been thinking that it is Lady Loki, which is going to be very interesting. This Lady Loki obviously has a time machine because they have tech from the year 3000. They've obviously traveled back to 1549, then to 1858. So there's a lot of questions surrounding this version of Loki. So Abe, I want to toss it to you. Like, what did you think? What do you think about this Loki's motivations and why they're targeting the TVA?
And why do you think it is Mephisto as well?
Okay, so when I first saw the stained glass, I actually did think Mephisto because of the red. Yes, I was like, Mephisto. I'm like, yo, because currently we know he's coming. We know regardless, he's on his way. Somehow, some way, they've been teased. People thought we got him in Wanda Winter Soldier. WandaVision. Whew, my fault. I'm off the, you know what, never mind. I thought it was WandaVision.
It was Agatha.
We know Doctor Strange 2 will probably go, Multiverse of Madness, we probably go get him again. So what's another cameo? What's another like tease, right? But then again, when I rewatched it and the horns, I was like, nah, makes perfect sense, Loki. Now, Lady Loki didn't come to mind.
That didn't.
But for me, I was thinking more so like not exactly cosmic Loki, but similar motivations. Because Loki is the type of character that would go out of the timeline and be like, look, let me go hunt and try. This could be the more brutal Loki, you know, the one that I personally would love to see. Loki we got right now, yes, he's like, yeah, I want to take over the world. I want to take over this dimension and whatnot, yada, yada, yada. But he doesn't spill blood like that. All right, let's get the version that does. Because even later, you saw how he burned that whole unit alive. No remorse. No remorse. So, and the way he's been killing all of them, I'm like, oh, this Loki came to play. So if it's Lady Loki, MCU, give us a badass like that who's out here killing folks with no remorse in the most brutal of ways. Hell yeah, I'll take that. Lady Loki, come, baby, won't you come my way?
So when I actually saw that picture that he pointed at, I immediately thought about the demon on Thor Ragnarok. But I know that he's too powerful.
Oh, Surtur?
Yeah, I was like, but he's way too powerful. So then I was like, what version of Loki could this be? And like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not really deep into the comics like that. So hearing you guys say Lady Loki and stuff like that, I'm like, I'm interested now. I'm probably going to be on Comics Explained later on, trying to see what I can find out and dig up. But like, I immediately was like, I was like, he looks like the little demon from freaking Thor Ragnarok. That's what I was thinking about immediately. But I was like, he's just way too powerful. Everybody would have known he was there if he showed up. So yeah.
The reason why I thought Lady Loki is because there is an actress that's on the show that doesn't have a designated role, right? And I think it would be a really interesting switch to make the antagonist Lady Loki, and for someone to play off of Tom Hiddleston that's not Tom Hiddleston. So that's why I think it's Lady Loki. The other thing is, why does this version of Loki, why are they collecting all of these reset triggers? The devices that reset time after things are changed. What do they need with them? Right? Like, do you guys have any theories on that? Like, I know it's really early on. It's only the first episode.
Oh, so let's talk about Secret Wars, right? Let's talk about Secret Wars. So the beautiful thing about Secret Wars is that it's a lead up, because there's incursions that happen with Beyonder getting some people into the other universe and other timeline and whatnot. What better way than to amass these essential bombs? And I imagine that if you detonate several one time, they're not just going to reset and wipe, but they'll tear a hole in the timeline. You feel me? So that's what I think this is what is going on, that maybe Loki, you know, this Variant-Loki might be working with a Beyonder. Maybe this Loki wants to just bring about Secret Wars and cause another multiversal war. Excuse me. I was so excited for that, because with the Beyonders, man, okay. All right, JB, I'm sorry, I'm about to go on a rant.
No, do it, bro. Hit me.
So with the Beyonders, you know that we're going to get Doom. And when we get Doom and Strange teaming up to take care of the Beyonders while Secret Wars is happening between Earth 616 and Earth 1610, what does Doom do? After he defeats the Beyonder, he takes the power and we get Battle World. We get God Emperor Doom. Lord have mercy. Ever since they purchased Fox, my mind was, we have to get Battle World. That's going to probably be phase 9. We have to get Battle World.
Phase 9.
This is one of the stories you have to tell, because you can have so much fun. But my only issue is this. The MCU has a problem of nerfing certain characters, of buffing certain characters too low, right? Doom is one of those characters similar to Hulk, where honestly they can be OP as hell. Honestly, OP as hell if you're not careful. So to get to Battle World Doom, it's like, look, whatever version of Doom you give us in the beginning, he can't be no punk. Don't play with me. I understand you can't have him clapping the Earth's ass like that too early, but don't make him too little of a character that he is. He's epic. He's cosmic. He is God. Okay, so I was really excited. That's what I'm hoping that we're going to get. That this is just further setting up. Like, yo, yes, there was a whole multiversal war, and now we're down to the sacred timeline, which is such. I hated the name. Not because I thought the MCU did a bad job. It just made me hate the TVA so much more because it was like, you guys are so arrogant. The sacred timeline? How dare you believe that you guys control all of time and space? Oh, nah. Somebody needs to teach y'all a lesson. Beyond us, where you at? You gonna meet him around the corner too? I bet. Say less. I got you. Kang over there as well. You can holler at him too. Yeah, we're gonna be over there. We're gonna jump him. All right, fight back, bet. I got you, right? So with me, it just got me it just got me so excited. Like, I'm really looking forward to everything that they're doing. And if we're gonna get the Beyonders or just a little tease, a cameo, I already know that the MCU is gonna go Doom and Battle World route. There's no one else to have them defeat the Beyonders except having Doom and Strange tag teaming, which is so great. And another thing that you mentioned too is, like, when you think about the MCU, every main character has like someone to bounce off of, right? Loki actually had Thor, but Infinity Wars essentially severed that. So now Loki is a type of character that by himself can do damage, but Tom Hiddleston, it flows better when you have someone to bounce off of him. So who do we get to do that? Now, if it's Lady Loki, that's dope. And if she plays that role, because at the end of the day, one thing we got to keep in mind, when we can't be comic book purists when it comes to the MCU. We can't do that at all.
Oh yeah.
Because for better or for worse, they do their own deviations, they do their own twists. So while all these ideas I have in my head, I'm like, yo, you can still do it with other characters. So Lady Loki can be the one to bring in the Beyonders, which probably would make more sense than having a Variant-Loki do it. Have a Lady Loki instead initiate all this, be like, oh, Lady Loki's working with the Beyonders and whatnot. That'd be much better. But to have a woman version of Loki who's just as witty, just as conniving, man, she about to be sexy as hell. You better stop playing with me. About to be sexy. I call dibs on her too. I'm gonna just say that right now.
Beat me to it.
On her too.
Well, I call dibs on the Anime Lady spreadsheet already.
On Lady Loki? How? You don't even know who she is.
I already did. I just called dibs on Lady Loki. How you call it dibs?
Well, I'm calling dibs on the Anime Lady spreadsheet. So, like, that spreadsheet.
Oh, I'm on Anime Lately, boy. You already filling up my spreadsheet. I already got 3 names on that list.
Yeah, I need to get Abe on the spreadsheet, actually.
You too late. You too late. All right? You too late, Vash. Vash about to...
Yes, babe. I am
about to be
adding
like,
more waifus.
Well, he's like, look, Abe is technically not on the list, guys, so... Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
They gonna break your list up like a little black book and pass out the names.
But I love what Bryce brings up in chat. Like, what do you guys think that this Loki variant will be the one trying to bring back like true free will into the sacred timeline and trying to stop the TVA and the timekeepers from essentially like taking away your chance to create your own destiny?
Which one?
Yeah.
The 616 Loki, the one that died? Or
No,
the
variant.
It's Variant Loki. Absolutely.
Okay.
It's fitting. It fits the type of person that Loki is. Loki can't be bound by chains. Loki doesn't. Throughout this whole episode, what did Loki keep saying? I walk my own path. I make my own decisions. Every version of Loki is going to believe that way, whether you get Lady Loki or it's a Loki variant. Each one is going to have that mindset. So it makes most sense, except this one is just going about it in a very violent and bloody way. I'm with it.
Would you guys be mad if it's the same Loki, just a different timeline?
That's what I was just about to say. The Loki we're seeing.
I would have no issues with that.
Yeah, I was thinking like the Loki we're seeing.
It works. The danger is that it becomes a little bit confusing sometimes with the episodes because it's clear we're going to have moments where we're going to see different iterations of Loki throughout history. So there's going to be some episodes where we're like, hey, hold on, we got to rewatch. Which version of Loki was that again? So now I'm further leaning towards a Lady Loki, honestly, JB, because I think that'd be the best way to portray this. That way you limit the confusion, but then you maximize the fun.
I wouldn't
Exactly.
be mad at what Vash said, just thinking of like a Tenet type thing, where like we're seeing things develop and then we see them start to go dark. And then when he goes back, he's actually setting people on fire and stuff like episode 4 or something like that. And then you're like, oh snap, that's what he did in episode 1. You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't be mad at that at all. Just to kind of see that like kind of
because the way I saw it, it reminded me like if it does happen as a possibility within the storyline of the MCU, the way I think the movie is called Looper, where if he kills himself, he technically is killing his future himself.
So that's Back to the Future rules. That doesn't work in the MCU.
Yeah, it's a whole different timeline.
Because remember, in the MCU, the past is a fixed point. It cannot be changed at all. You can add to the past because that becomes your future, but in terms of actually changing events of the past, it's impossible. It's not possible to do that. So what you're talking about, Vash, is Back to the Future rules, where you can go back in time, change the events of the past that then change the present and future. Not possible in the MCU.
Yeah, it comes out.
Yeah, so it's very, very, very interesting, and I can't wait to see like how the TVA and the Loki series continue to explain how time travel works with nexus points. Because like we talked about before, in Endgame, the Ancient One made it very explicit that when one Infinity Stone is removed, since the Infinity Stones pretty much make up reality in that universe, that creates a nexus point that creates a bunch of different crazy timelines that could destroy reality at some point, right? But what our heroes do when they go back in time, like Cap going back in time to stay with Peggy, that's effectively an alternate reality, an alternate like pocket world where he exists, and he does not affect anything that happened in the 616 timeline because you cannot change the past. So it's going to be very interesting how they further explain everything.
Again, with time travel, there's dangers of it getting messy.
Right.
Definitely.
For example, I'll mention DC for the moment. Flashpoint, if done well, can do so much to help reset the DC extended universe and right some wrongs, right? The same thing here. This is a moment, especially as an entry point, to bring in X-Men, to bring in Fantastic Four. We're basically now opening the possibilities of like, hey, there's a couple of those nexus points, a couple of those alternate timelines that actually did survive. And when an incursion happened, we have a Fantastic Four from another Earth coming in and settling down in Earth 616. And because, hey, the Earth 616 version for some reason isn't present. We have the X-Men from different Earths come here to adopt Earth 616. The amount of possibility that they can use for the TVA, for the Loki show to help extend and expand the universe with the new acquisitions has me so hyped. Like, but again, you got to be careful how to do it. You got to, because it could be very messy situation. You got to be careful.
And plus, to add to that, that's how they can bring back the real Pietro from the Fox universe and not have him as a comedy trope. And actually, they play back to that joke where they actually made it real. So with the Loki series, I have, like I said in the beginning of the review, not that I came with low expectations. I was just so overwhelmed with so many trailers and teasers that I already felt like I saw the first episode. But now, seeing the first episode, I have high expectations to see what they do with Loki and how do they connect it with WandaVision, because we know the Multiverse of Madness. We know Ant-Man and the Wasp 3 is going to connect with Kong and everything else around with that. So I'm curious to know how Loki is going to serve the grander scale of the MCU of Phase 4 and more of the future phases like Abe spoke about, Phase 23. So I'm curious to know how all that's going to be mushed together as a grander scale.
Yeah, I want to talk about what Vin just brought up in chat. Do you guys think that Loki will somehow retcon mutants into the MCU? The multiversal war kind of sounds like DC Crisis. So, I mean, I can definitely see that happening. I don't know if it will, but I feel like they started off with Loki in this really interesting pocket to be the entry point to the multiverse of madness. Again, I don't know if it'll happen, but they've made it a great access point because we now know that the TVA goes against people that create nexus points. Nexus points creates a bunch of different timelines that will lead to a multiversal war. So we could potentially see something that directly connects from Loki to Multiverse of Madness. What that will be, not sure. One thing that people are taking granted for in this episode, the fact that Kang the Conqueror already exists already proves that the Fantastic Four exists within the MCU. Because as you know, and for those of you that don't know, Kang the Conqueror's real name is Nathaniel Richards. So he is a descendant of Reed.
Yep.
So the fact that he exists already means that the Fantastic Four exists in some capacity in this timeline of the MCU. When we'll see them is something else completely different.
Oh, I can't wait to see that in storyline of Kong and Earth, like, because I think they're like, I think Kong is 4 or like 8 generations after Reed, right?
Something like that. I can't remember exactly.
Forgot. But just to
look, Jonathan Majors, people about to be mad because keep in mind, he also has some relation to Doom too as well. Kang is also related to Doom. So it's in terms of actor that people go choose for the first family, in terms of their ethnicity, people might get mad when they see that, you know. Hey, I'm here for it. Is all I'm saying. I'm here for it.
I mean, he's used to that, but he's definitely probably gonna hear that feedback of, oh, he's a black guy, and I mean, at this point, you're not used to it. Like I'm like, y'all gonna have to deal with it. So, but yeah, I'm actually really excited about that. Just seeing if they can get the Fantastic Four right. That's gonna be the whole thing.
In Feige we trust, bro. You know they will.
Yeah, now that Marvel's got it, hopefully, that Disney's got it instead of Fox. Hopefully, it's gonna be right.
I just want what I hope as a comedy is that Chris Evans comes back as Human Torch. That's my goal.
That would be hilarious.
James always makes fun of me that I've been saying this since episode 1 because we did a fan casting, I think like in episode 3 or 4, all the way back in Villains, and I said like, yo, Chris Evans, Human Torch, let's go. That's what I want. It was good. Like, yo, I will never forget that. Like, yo, guys, look at this. Fire. Look at this. Like, I just like this shit. Like, it's so, like Abe said, like, it's cringy, but it's good cringy. Like, I was entertained by that shit.
I would laugh if they did something where, like, Chris Evans is that, like, the flame on, and then he wakes up from a dream, and he's like some other guy, and he's like, oh man, I was sexy, or I was hot. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. I think that, because sometimes you do have those dreams where you dream as somebody else or something like that. I think that would be hilarious to do. And then that way you can kind of give somebody that fan service of seeing Chris Evans playing Johnny Storm.
Someplace in some other part of the multiverse he is. So
but and then like the multiverse, I definitely think that when that gets opened up, I think that's going to be like, this is the entry point with Loki. Oh, yeah. I think Doctor Strange will be the big piece of it when they open the whole multiverse stuff. I think it'll be a Doctor Strange thing.
Yeah. We've covered a lot in this episode. Like, Abe, I want to start with you. Like, do you have any final thoughts on the first episode of Loki before we wrap up?
My final thoughts are like, yo, there's a lot that is that we could take from this. You know, like we mentioned various different theories, and we could be completely off base at the end of the day, or they could be playing something else. That's the beauty of the MCU. I trust them at the end of the day. I trust them to get what's done right. So just wait, be patient, because I know some people, I talked to some people, they were like, yo, there was just a lot going on. It was all over the place. It's like, just wait. 6 episodes. They trust 6 episodes is enough. I trust them that 6 episodes is enough. We're going to see what's happening, but regardless of what we're going to get, it's going to be fun. And we're going to point back to the series a lot throughout the rest of phase 4 and probably future phases. We're going to look at what the Loki show did and what they set up. Pay attention to every episode. The Easter eggs we're going to get, it's just a fanboy's dream. We thought we loved the Easter eggs in WandaVision. We thought we loved the Easter eggs in Captain American Winter Soldier. This Captain Falcon, oh my gosh, forget it, Winter Soldier, whatever. The Easter eggs we're going to get from this one is, oh boy. You know what? Let me just let you on right now. I'm on the remaining 5 episodes of Loki. I'm hopping on. I will free up my schedule. You just let me know when we're recording. I'm hopping on that job because it's gonna be so fun. Y'all in for a great treat. I can't wait. Whatever storyline they do go, the comics, just go back and read them. It's gonna be fun.
I'm happy you said that because I was already thinking. I was like, you know what? I might want to do something different and just get Abe and Steve for all of the Loki reviews. I think that would be fucking dope. Like, I think that would be a great collab. Like, we'll just do every episode of Loki together.
I'm in.
Everyone's in that. I was thinking that too, James.
Bet. All right,
we both were.
It's on the books here live inside
Right
the mind of a blurred. Careful for spoilers. We are reviewing all of the episodes of Loki together. But Steve, what are your final thoughts on the first episode?
I loved it, and I can't wait for the next episode. Just that last little bit where we saw Loki setting everything on fire, and I was just like, all right, so it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be heat. And then, like, after rewatching it and seeing those Easter eggs where he was alluding to it being Owen Wilson was alluding to him trying to go after Loki the whole time. He talks to the judge, and she's like, if you're thinking whatever you're thinking, don't do it. And he's like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, so
like, I'm not doing nothing.
Yeah, they hinted at it the whole episode. And it was like the second and third time I watched it, I'm like, it was in our face the whole time. You know what I'm saying? But the first time you watch it, you have no idea. And it's a shocker. But like, they allude to it the whole time. And I'm just like, dang, I'm going to enjoy watching this and trying to pick it apart and figure out things. And then once I read Secret Wars and all this other stuff on Comics Explained, hopefully I can be ready to depict stuff on for the next episode and things like that.
Bro, your brain is gonna explode when you read Secret Wars. Like, literally explode.
I'm gonna be on it before next week. Watch.
Good luck.
Sweet.
Good luck on reading it, because there's so many side stories as well. So good luck, because it gets a bit convoluted. So,
but hey, he's going to dive into God Emperor Doom as a result.
Bro.
It's gonna keep him hooked. He's about to go through all of Doom's storylines. He's gonna follow every issue that follows after that.
But definitely, Steve, read the Spider-Man storyline ticket. That one is flames as well.
Oh, okay. Because I was about to say there's a 13-hour video on Comics Explained that I might just dive in. Yeah, I watch an hour or two here, watch an hour or two there. That ain't too bad. Yeah, I can dive into it. And then by next week, I'll sound like I know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Vash, what are your final thoughts on the first episode?
My final thoughts of the first episode of Loki was actually entertained. Can't wait to see what the next 5 episodes bring up. Can't wait to see what story they bring from the comics, what type of MCU twist, what actors cameo we see. Sucks to see that the more episodes that we see of the MCU of Phase 4, we're not going to see no more Stan Lee, because when I saw this episode, it made me realize, like, damn, we have 3 official shows from the MCU of Phase 4 with that we have no cameo of Stan Lee. The last one, I think, is the one that we're going to have this summer, is the What If. I believe he recorded that before he passed. If not, then the last thing he did was Endgame and everything. So that got me sad thinking about that, but entertained. Can't wait to see what they do. And I'm happy that we're gonna be bringing you guys back, Loki episode 2 with the team of the In the Mind of the Blurred. So really entertaining episode, great team, and great conversation as well.
Yeah, this was an absolute, like, great episode. I love talking to you guys. This episode for me gave me everything that I could want from a first episode of a Loki series. We instantly got answers as to where Loki went after he took the Tesseract after Endgame. We got a great introduction into the TVA. We actually got to see the TVA doing investigations, fixing other timelines. We saw how that worked. We got little bits of like their verbiage in terms of like the reset charges and all of like the different like time loop devices and all of those different things. Loki
like
showing
prune, like you prune them and
yeah.
you realize exactly what that means. You're like, oh, just evaporate. Okay, bet.
Yeah.
Don't prune me.
So it's like the explanation of like the drawer full of Infinity Stones. I kind of feel like it was kind of a meta way of saying like, yeah, I mean, these Infinity Stones aren't really a big deal where the MCU is headed. We're dealing with such bigger things at this point that the MCUs are the Infinity Stones are a dime a dozen. Like, yeah, they matter per universe, but like in the grander scheme of things, like who gives a shit?
I can't wait to see Galactus. Him, I want to see in the future. How would Kevin Feige and the MCU tackle him in the next couple of phases?
Phase
like
5,
Galactus,
I'm hoping.
Man, but here's the thing: in the comics recently, they've been. Galactus got. Oh my gosh, Galactus a little hold at this point now.
He became their bitch. Yes,
the comics just said, "Hey, we don't rock with Galactus no more." I'm so over Galactus now. I'm so over him.